Hi, I am the PC Expert Amateur, and today I want to share with you the 26 most powerful fans in terms of pressure that I have in my collection that I'm aware of at this time. You see, yesterday I spent several hours going through my collection of 312 fans, not including the ones on coolers, and then I found these 20-some fans that had high static pressure listed of at least 3 mm H2O. There were probably others, but they didn't have any information. I did make an exception for Delta because I know Delta fans are almost always very high static pressure. I also made an exception for Cool Jag Everflows, but it turned out none of them actually had high enough static pressure. So I made a list. Now there are two that I suspect may possibly have lied about their statistics, and it's from a Chinese company called Fanner, or more specifically Shenzhen Fanner Science and Technology Company Ltd. or Limited. The F120 and the S80. S80 because the fan itself is actually 80, but with the frame it becomes 93.5. So we're going to be finding out if these two have false statistics. When I tested them, this one at least did not feel like it hit 3 millimeters of water. Now, for those of you who don't know what static pressure means, it is a measurement of how far a fan can move water in a column. And they use something called a manometer. And it can be a U-shaped or it can also be a straight tube. And either way, you find out how many millimeters or inches it moves the water or displaces the water within the column. And I don't know if it's a perfect measurement. I think maybe we could probably have come up with one using actual air. But hey, we have to have something, and this is the standard worldwide pretty much. So the fans that we're going to be looking at are the AAA wave AF 12025-4P-B. This is their only fan. They have been in mining, and they use this on all their mining equipment. But it's a pretty strong fan. I won't say the bearings are great, but it's a strong fan. And then the Arctic P12 Max, the Akasa Piranha. This is a 120. Don't be fooled by the big box. They just like to, make you think it's a big fan. Same here. The Asus ROG Strix XF120, which I believe is a new fan, and is actually pretty decent. I was surprised. And then we have the B-Gears BPWM 120, the B-Gears B-Ice 140, the B-Gears B-Blaster 80. Not so surprising that an 80 millimeter fan is going to have high static pressure. The B-Gears B-Blaster 140. The B-Silent Wings Pro, the B-Quiet Silent Wings Pro 4 120. The B-Quiet Silent Wings Pro 4 140. The Cooler Master Blade Master 120. The Cooler Master Mobius 120 OC. The Delta PFC 1212DE-6A50. The Delta AFC 1212D-F00. The Delta AFC 1212DE-SP02. The EK Furious Vardar Evo 120. I have a lot more 120s than 140s. The EK Furious Meltemi 120. the Fanner S80 and the Fanner F120 that I mentioned earlier, the Iceberg Thermal Ice Gale Extra 120, which I was put onto by a person on LTT forums, the NZXT F140 RGB, and lest I forget, the Noctua IPPC 3140 millimeter, the Fantex PH F120 MP, the Fantex T30, of course, the Wonder Snail 120, which is by Scythe, sorry, and then the Scythe Grand Flex 120, and finally, an oddball, but I just couldn't resist, the Silverstone Air Penetrator AP182, and yes, it's big. So we're going to go through all of these, and we're going to take a look at why they are on the list for the strongest fans in my collection, or my inventory, I guess would be a better word, since I'm not collecting them just to get them, I'm collecting them to test them. And I will point out that Delta is a server fan company, really. So their fans are powerful, but they're also loud in general. So the I forget which one it is. I think it's this one, but it could be this one. Has really insane statistics. So don't be surprised when you. Oh, and one of those three, my fan controller actually isn't strong enough for it, which I found pretty hilarious. It was the only one. So we're going to pop each of these open and take a good look at them and even listen to the sound. And for that purpose, let me grab my fan controller, which I've got right here. It's a Copal fan controller that I got from En Labs, EN Labs, EN dash, okay? So this can control up to 6 fans at a time. So let's get started. And, by the way, since this is about static pressure and less, to a smaller degree, about airflow, and it's also about noise, I'm not going to be showing you the LEDs except for the fans that have the LED built into one cable with the fan control. So we're going to start up. We'll start with the the AAA wave, and then the Arctic P12 Max. And I'm going to have to pull up my statistical information here so that I can see this. That one's there. And I'm going to pause you so you don't have to be bored by this. Now, before I go any farther with this, I do want to point out that there are about 4 or 5 of these that actually have a switch on them so you can change the speed. And this is the Cooler Master, Blade Master, the Fantex T30, the Be Quiet, both of the Be Quiet Silent Wings Pro 4s, and I think there's another one and then there's also the Silverstone Air Penetrator has a dial, where the other ones have a 3-position switches. So I'm kind of partial to the Silverstone one because you can dial it to exactly the speed you want instead of being limited by the switch, which I think is a kind of a cop-out kind of solution that they decided to use. But that's just me. So let's get started with the AAA wave. And this is what it looks like. And now I'm going to let you listen to it. Now I'm going to have it blowing toward the camera. Keep in mind, it won't be this loud when it's inside the computer. that's on maximum. I'm turning them all up to maximum so you can definitely get a good feel for how loud they get. And here's the Arctic P12 Max. Now I want to point out to you there is a difference here. Now the AAA wave supposedly has airflow, maximum airflow of 97.6, static pressure of 4.24, and maximum noise of 35.2. Whereas the Arctic has maximum airflow of 81.04 CFMs, maximum static pressure of 4.35, but the decibels are only 25.3. So let's compare them. I'm going to turn on the AAA wave, and we're going to see which one actually, to me anyways, it's kind of hard to do this. Good thing I have big hands. They have similar whines to them, and honestly, I feel like they're really about the same in terms of noise. So honestly, I think that when Arctic said it only gets up to 25.3, I think they were fibbing. I think this is around 35 as well. I think the AAA wave one was being honest. So let's turn off the Arctic. And now we'll try the Akasa Piranha, which I think is kind of interesting. If you take a look at this, look at the blades. They've got that kind of a shark teeth effect on them. All right, so the Akasa Piranha. Now, supposedly 79.13 CFM, 3.04 static pressure, and a maximum of 27.2 decibels. And it does sound quieter than the AAA wave and the Arctic. It's also not as powerful. Honestly, what do you think? Tell me what you think of the first three so far. All right, now let's try the new Asus ROG Strix. And this is what it looks like. It does have a ridge on the the blade right here. I'm going to try putting this a little bit more down. There we go. So. Now this is supposed to have 62.5 CFM, which is worse than the Akasa, 3.07 MMAQ, which is almost the same as the Akasa, but 22.5 decibels, and it definitely sounds quieter. So if you're looking at between the Akasa and the Piranha and the Asus ROG Strix Whisper Quiet XF120, and that's what you're going for. This one's going to be more expensive, and the Akasa is going to give you better airflow and the same static pressure, and this one's a bit quieter. But once it's in the case, I don't think you're going to notice either of these, to be frank. All right, now let's dip into a 140, the B Gears 140, B Blaster 140. It's pretty plain Jane. Unfortunately, I received a damaged unit, so this one is really noisy. I'm not sure what's rubbing against what. I'm assuming it's the bearings are bad, and that normally, normally it doesn't do this. But it is really disappointing that, yeah, it's really disappointing. I can't do anything about it though. Now this 140 is supposed to have 103 CFM, 3.5 static pressure, and 36 decibels. Yeah, it's definitely got a bearing problem. It's unbearable. Let's turn it off. Whew! And finally, the B gear is 80, which is this teeny tiny little thing. This one is one of the stronger ones out of this first group. 62 CFM, but 4 millimeters of water and 39 decibels. So yeah, it's definitely. I think that the sound rating is definitely loud. I'm not sure if it's actually louder than the 140, but with that damaged bearing, I just don't know for sure. Unfortunately, when I got the 140, I didn't test it until it was too late to do anything about it in terms of replacements and stuff. So unless B Gears wants to be nice and give me a replacement, yeah. And it's an old fan, so they may not even have it in stock anymore. So that's those 6. Now, if we look at statistics, we can say that of the 6 of these, I'm going to unplug these just so it's easier to show you them again. Of the 6 of these, the most powerful is unquestionably the Arctic, and right behind it is the AAA wave, and right behind that is the B Blaster 80. Those would be the strongest. The 140 is not too far behind, but it's kind of in the middle between this and the Akasa and the Asus. So let's carry on from there. Now, fun fact here: if we look at the MTTF, or the mean time to failure, or mean time before failure, MTBF of these, which is how many hours before they will probably die. I'm not sure about the Blue Gears fans because they didn't have that data listed on their boxes, but the Akasa and the AAA wave are only 50,000 hours, so they're probably like a sleeve or a rifle bearing. And that leaves just the Asus, which is 400,000 hours. That is really insane, but they've got some kind of a special bearing in there. So I just wanted to let you know about that. Okay, next up we're going to compare the B Gears PWM 120. Oh, and by the way, the other one, the one after that is the B Ice 140, and that is the BG01572. This is BG1213, the one I just did a little before. So those two. Also, both of these Silent Wings Pro 4s, and both of the Cooler Masters, the Mobius 120 OC and the Blade Master. We're going to do all those, so let me get those set up. Okay, so of these 6, the B140 Ice is the least powerful at 3.2 millimeters of water, and it has 83 CFM and supposedly 29 decibels. And so we'll start with this one. And it's a very attractive one because they used a chrome colored paint or plastic or whatever it is. I'm not sure what they used. So you're actually going to see LEDs on this one. So let's go ahead and start this one up. Oops. Not too terribly loud. And you can see the nice reflection of the LEDs on the it's kind of cool. Old-fashioned, but cool. Nothing wrong with this. All right, now let's BPWM 120. It's funny. This is the only one of this 6. There was one in the last 6 or 2, I think, that were not PWM. They happen to use 3-pin connectors. And this one's really interesting. It's got a huge number of blades, and the blades have I guess you could call these air guide channels on the blades. So let's find out about this one. Now, this one is actually not the second worst one, the third worst one. Sorry, third from the bottom. It has 3.7 for the static pressure, 110, wow, for the CFM. So that's pretty good for an airflow, and 37.3 decibels. And again, it's got colors. On my screen I see purple, but my eyes see blue. So my camera is confused. This is not a purple fan or purple colored fan. And definitely louder than the other one. Personally, 3 or 4 pin, honestly, you can get by just fine with a 3-pin. I wouldn't do 2-pin, but 3-pin is fine. All right, now the one that's between those two B-Gears fans is the Silent Wings Pro 4 at 3.64 static pressure, millimeters of water, and 165.5 CFM, 36.8 decibels. Oh, I've got it on minimum. Now this is one of the ones that has the switch on it. So if you decide you want it to be quieter, you can change the switch to one of the lower settings. But this is on max. So having it blowing toward me, it's the same either way, really. A little bit noisier with it blowing toward me, but it's actually trying to wiggle it out of my hands because it's powerful enough for that. All right. Okay, so that's the bottom 3 as far as in terms of power. And the 4th one would be the Blade Master, which is this one. And it's got kind of funny looking blades. No lights. And 3.9 millimeters of water, 76.8 CFM, 32 decibels. And I can definitely hear that it's quieter. Although that noise is nonetheless kind of piercing. In second place from this grouping is the Cooler Master Mobius 120 OC, which has a lot of blades. I think that's 11. Not as many as that B Gears one, but plenty. And this should be, let's see, static pressure of 4.75, CFM's 88.1, and 39.3 decibels. So as you can tell, it's noisy. Now, one thing that's interesting about this is, although the quietest of the 6 is also the weakest, the strongest of the noisiest of the 6 is not the strongest. And this is another one with a fan switch on it, or somewhere on it. I forgot where it is. Oh, that's right, I forgot. The switch is on the cable on this one, so you can adjust it here, which I think is at least somewhat better than having it on the hub, depending on how you've got your case set up. If the switch on the hub is more accessible to you, then that's better. If it's more accessible on the cable, you're going to have to adjust depending on which one you end up with. So yeah, that's. And another interesting thing about this one is it's got a ring going around the outside of the blades. I don't know if you can see that or not. To help stabilize the blades, because and that's also true of both Be Quiets, that they have that ring going around them, and that is to make sure that the blades don't deform, which will decrease their static pressure and airflow. Of these 6, again, I don't have I do have information on one of the B Gears, but the 140, I don't have information for how long the bearing is expected to last, and that was the weakest of the 6. The Be Quiet 140. This one. Where's the other one? And now I cannot see. Hold on a second here. Okay, so yeah, the Be Quiet 140 has got fan bearings that'll last, as well as the 120, 300,000 hours. So that's pretty outstanding. Also, the corners on these fans are removable. I find it very difficult to do. It's supposed to be easy, but honestly, it takes both hands. You have to pinch with one hand and push out with the other. There are 2 other kinds of fan corners, depending on what you need to mount it on. If it's going to be on a case, if it's going to be on a heatsink, if it's going to be on a radiator, I believe are the 3 types. But those come included inside the box. I'll just show you the example here. This is kind of a luxury item, a specialty. So these are the other 2 kinds of corners. Honestly, I think that unless you really need the extra power of these 2 fans, and keep in mind that the 140 isn't, it has more volume, I suppose you could say, but it doesn't have as much raw pressure as the 120. So yeah. Then the let's see, the next one would be the other B Gears, the little B Gears. The big B Gears, I don't know. The little B Gears has 60,000 hours, which is probably a rifle bearing. The Cooler Master Blade Master has 40,000 hours, which is probably a sleeve bearing. And the Cooler Master Mobius 120 has 200,000 hours. So this is, I think, FDB, or maybe it's dual ball bearing. Let me just check here. put it in here, and I forgot to, where did I put it? Okay, so of the 12 that we've looked at so far, the Akasa is hydrodynamic. The Asus is maglev. The B Gears B Ice 140 is a sleeve. Got that one. I would have, that's what I was expecting. The Be Quiet, both of them, and the B Gears Blue, B Blaster, the B Blaster 140, the Be Quiet 140, the B PWM 120 Blue, the B Blaster 80, the Triple A Wave, the Arctic, the Cooler Master Mobius, the Be Quiet 120, all have dual ball bearings. I think that's interesting. And the range of how long they'll last is also very interesting. So let's take a look at the next group. Okay, this time around we're going to do the 3 Deltas and the 2 EKWBs. The Furious Meltemi, the Furious Vardar Evo, and then these 3 server fans, which are amongst the strongest. In fact, according to static pressure, they are the strongest. So it's a little bit unfair, but they're also really noisy. Now, unfortunately, the AFC 1212D-F00 does not have the PWM plug for it. I have to get some, so I'm not going to be able to show you other than what it looks like. This is the third strongest of all of them in terms of static pressure. It's 10.92 millimeters of water. Airflow is 113.1 CFM, and the noise is 49.5 decibels. So I'm going to just set this one aside. And unfortunately, the AF1212DE-SP02 has a 5-pin connector that I don't have an adapter for, so I can only show you what it looks like. But trust me, this one is the second strongest on the list that I have, and that's 15.29 millimeters of water, a 148.34 CFM, and 51 decibels. Woo! So I'm going to add in the 2 Fanners, the ones that I think that are a scam as far as their statistics are concerned. And to round it out, since I've got those 2 deltas that I can't actually run for you, I'm going to add the Iceberg Thermal Ice Scale Extra 120. Most colorful. All right, let's get started. The weakest on the list, and in fact, the weakest. Literally, I mean, it's exactly supposedly 3 millimeters of water, 41 CFM, and 31 decibels. Let's check it out. Now, honestly, I don't hear, I barely hear it. It's very, very quiet. I feel like this is not 31 decibels. I believe it's less than 31 decibels, but I could be wrong. But it's really, really quiet. So I think they got the decibels wrong on this one. Also, as far as like static pressure, it might be 3, but it's pretty weak, and it's not impressive. even with the green light. That's green for me. I don't know if you guys, I don't know what you're seeing exactly because on my screen it looks pretty much white. In second place, but toward the top of the list, is the Iceberg Thermal Ice Scale Extra. This one's pretty strong at a 4.6 millimeters of water, 127 CFM, and 44 decibels. Now, I think that is probably 44, if not more. And certainly it adds a splash of color. If this were summertime, I would be enjoying this right now because it's so strong. That's maximum. That's definitely more than 44. Third from the bottom, but still in the top 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Iceberg was in 11th place. Is the EK Furious Vardar Evo 120. Let's try this one. And notice the cable is red. That signifies they're letting people know, don't put your finger in here when you turn it on or you might lose something, like part of your finger. Now, this one is supposedly 5.81 millimeters of water, 107 CFM, and 42 decibels. I would say it is a little bit quieter than the Iceberg. You'll probably have trouble finding a lot of these fans that I'm showing you. Next on the list is the Fanner F120. And it's pretty simple, although at the base of the blades it has 2 teeth, or actually 2 indentations, so it looks like there's a tooth in there. Oops, I did the wrong one. 1, 2, 3. Supposedly, this one has 5.9 millimeters of water. I absolutely do not believe that this is 5.9. It is really pathetic. And 108 CFM. I don't think so. Also, it should be about 40 decibels. I would say this is more like 30 something instead of 40, and I would say that this is just as weak as the 80 millimeter one. Not impressive. Shame, Fanner, shame for claiming that it has 5.9 millimeters of water. All right, now the EK Furious Melt-O-Me, which my son and I were using during the summer because it was just so powerful. It does have at the tip of at the end of the blades, it has a curl over that helps to direct the air. And again, the red cable to warn you that this is dangerous. Now, 7.13 static pressure, which I believe, 60.9 decibels, 121 CFM. This is really pushing the air. That Fanner is so BS, but it's loud and thick. And finally, the show-stopping Delta, which is the top fan on the list, the PFC 1212DE-6A50. You can see the hub is huge, and the fan blades are short, but what it lacks in length, it makes up for in girth. Oh, yeah, there it goes. I can only get it up to partial strength because it's too powerful for my cooler. So I'm going to have to slowly move it up. I won't be able to show you the maximum noise. Good golly, it's being more sensitive than before. Wow. Okay, that's as close probably as I'm going to get. It's got 35.86 millimeters of water, 250 CFM, 66.5 decibels. I hope you can hear me. I'm going to try to pump it up a little bit. Yeah, there we go. And that was at almost, oh, well, that's interesting. Yeah, it can't handle that. So I'm just going to turn it off. So it was at, let's see, I would say a little around 50% power. Something like that anyways. It's a monster. It's a beast. Totally, totally great if you've got a fan that, or if you need a fan that's going to cool your computer without any questions. But yeah, definitely a monstrous fan to have. So, again, the two Fanners, very, very doubtful that they are actually strong enough to be on the list. Sorry, Fanner, Shenzhen, Fanner, Science and Technology, whatever you want to call yourselves. You lied about the statistics. You overrated the noise, and you underrated the you overrated the noise, and you underrated. Well, actually, you really went overboard on the static pressure and probably the airflow as well would be my guess. I mean, what else can I say? I'm really disappointed. Let's take a look at the next group. I almost forgot. The Fanners both have, well, the larger one has fluid dynamic and the smaller one the larger one has hydrodynamic, the smaller one has fluid dynamic. Please don't ask me what the difference is. There's a difference. And all the other ones are dual ball bearing. And then as far as the mean time to failure, the Fanners, I really question that they're fluid dynamic or hydrodynamic bearings, because the small one is only 40,000 hours, which would be a sleeve bearing, and the large one is 100,000 hours. Now that could be fluid dynamic. The EK Furious Vardar Evo is only 50,000 hours, so that's a pretty crappy double ball bearing if it is. So I really doubt that. The other EK is also only 50,000 hours, so another really poor quality double ball bearing. But then again, maybe it's because they go at such high speeds that they will only last that long. That may explain it. But then, if that's the case, hold on here, because the small Fanner, 40,000 hours, the large Fanner, 100,000 hours, the Iceberg, 160,000 hours. But the EKs, 50,000 hours, and the Deltas, 70,000 hours. So, how can double ball bearings? I don't know. It just EK is such a famous company. How come they can only produce double ball bearings that last 50 hours when the Iceberg Thermal is only a little bit weaker, really, and yet it can go 160,000 hours? Yeah, it is a bit suspicious. Okay, let's carry on. Okay, so the next group of fans that we're going to be looking at are the last group of fans, except for the Silverstone. That's special. So the Fantex PH-F120MP, the Fantex T30, the NZXT F140 RGB, the Noctua Industrial PPC NF-A14, 3000 RPM, the Scythe Wonder Snail 120, 2400 RPM, and the Scythe Grand Flex, 2000 RPM. Several of these Scythe fans come in different RPMs, so you have to take a look at that. So these are the ones that we're going to look at now. And we're going to start with, of course, the weakest one. And that will be, oh man, the Scythe Grand Flex. It's going to be our absolutely weakest one. And this has got 3.2 millimeters of water, 76.6 CFM, and 34.5 decibels. Actually, I don't feel like that's actually that loud. Whoops, there we go. Somehow I got stuck trying to turn that thing. It's definitely strong. This is a 3-pin fan, which again, there's nothing wrong with that. You don't have to have PWM to be able to enjoy a good quality fan. All right, next up is the NZXT F140 RGB. And again, I can't show you the fan lights because it's got a proprietary connector on it, and I don't have the adapter for it because NZXT does not provide adapters. They apparently don't want to do that, whereas Leon Lee will for theirs. At least, mostly, yeah. So, this has got a 3.39 static pressure, 89.48 CFMs, and 32.5 decibels. And nothing really remarkable about the design that I can see anyways. .32.5, I would say this is louder than 32.5. And next up we have the Fantex PHF120MP underscore BK02, which is this one right here. And it does have folded over edges on the blades to help guide the air, at least in theory. Now, supposedly, this has got 3.41 static pressure, 60.51 CFM, and 34.2 decibels. However, I feel like this is quieter than the NZXT. Next, we have the other Scythe, which is the Wonder Snail 2400 RPMs, and that has 3.59 millimeters of water, 77.23 CFM, and 29.3 decibels. That seems louder than the Grand Flex and the Fantex PH F120MP. Nothing special about the blades other than the fact that there's like 11 of them on there. The next one is the Noctua A14 IPPC 3000. And it does have channels on the backs of the blades. They're not very deep, but they're on the outside of the blade. And this one has got one of the strongest ratings. Actually, I had forgotten to put this in the list, and this is actually coming in at number 6 on my list. And that's going to be, let's see, 6.58 millimeters of water, 158.5 CFM, and 41.3 decibels. I think that's louder than 41.3. Don't you? Don't you feel like that's louder than 41.3? Because I feel like it. Now keep in mind, when it's inside your case, it's not going to feel quite that loud. But it will still be loud. I've actually run this in my case for many, many months, along with the next one, the next to last one, the Fantex T30, which is dark gray and medium gray blades. And this one has got a whopping 7.11 millimeters of water and 101 CFM. 39.7 decibels. Let's find out. It's been sitting unloved for a while. I think that's as loud as the Noctua, maybe a little bit quieter. Not a huge difference. Now, if we look at how long these 6 are going to last, out of the 6 of them, the let's see, the NZXT is only for the price you're going to pay for the NZXT, it's only 60,000 hours. That's pretty stupid. Whereas both of the Scythes are 120 hours, both of the Fantexes are 150 hours, and the Noctua is greater than 150 hours. Sorry, 150,000. 120,000, 60,000. My apologies. And then as far as the bearings are concerned, let's see. So the Scythe, the Fantex, sorry, the NZXT, sorry, the Scythe Grand Flex, the NZXT, the Scythe Wonder Snail, and all have, well, and also the Noctua, although technically Noctua's fan bearing is really high quality. It's called SS02, but it is a type of fluid dynamic. Those are all fluid dynamics. The Fantex PH F120P is a different kind of fan bearing called updraft floating balance. And I think it's magnetic, if I remember correctly. But I'm not entirely positive about that one. The Fantex T30, on the other hand, is definitely magnetic levitation. And considering prices and availability, it's really hard to beat this one. You know, considering also as far as like total noise and stuff like that. Let's take a look at that air penetrator. Okay, so here is the beautiful Silverstone air penetrator AP182. It's a monster, isn't it? But it does have a bit of class. and it can double as a bathroom fan. All right, so let's go ahead and run this one. But before we do, I should warn you, don't put your fingers in this one. This one is also very powerful. We're talking about a hydrodynamic bearing that can last up to 100,000. Sorry, not 100,000. Sorry, a 50,000 hour dual ball bearing, and the static pressure is 6.1 millimeters of water, 167.2 CFMs, and 40 decibels, they say. But I think you'll decide otherwise. Now, it does have, like I said, there is the dial here, and this allows you to decide just how fast it's going to go. So I'm going to make sure it's off, and then I'm going to start it up. I'm going to provide the power. It's now ready to go. So this has actually got two cables, one for the, oh, there we go. This is on minimum. And now let's bump it up all the way to the max. And you can remove this plate if you don't want to use it and you want to mount the dial somewhere else. Just take the dial off, remove the plates, 2 screws, and then put it wherever you want it. I'm sorry, does that sound like 40 decibels to you? Because it doesn't to me. It also is really vibrating a lot. If you could fit this on a case, I have no doubt that it would do an amazing job of keeping your computer cool. And it's not as noisy as that Delta that makes my fan controller go nuts. So, yeah. Something to consider if you really want to go for a really large but powerful fan that just blows away the competition. Sorry, I couldn't resist. I apologize. But the reason I'm showing you these is these are fans that are really going to do amazing work on a heat sink for a air cooler or on a radiator for a water cooler. Now, if you want to take your ordinary $60, $70 water cooler and turn it into a beast, you get one of the fans that are on this list that have more power than the fans that it came with. And assuming you can handle the noise levels, you will be happy because it will keep your CPU happy. It will keep your CPU comfortable no matter how hot the CPU tries to get. It's going to be upclocking and doing amazing things for you if you can get it into your case. But there aren't a lot of cases, I would suspect, that take a 182 millimeter fan. Yeah. So I hope that this video has been helpful for you. And if you have any questions or comments, or if you happen to know of other fans with a static pressure above 3 or above, let me know about them. It'd be nice to have that information for future reference. Also, if you know a high-powered fan that is very quiet, there are a lot of people out there that want fans that are very quiet. And the Be Quiet isn't as quiet as they say it is, I don't think. Let's see. So just going from worst to best, we're going to take, and I'm eliminating the 2 fanners because obviously they're nonsense. Okay? I hope you don't mind. I'm sure you don't mind, honestly. So we're going to start with the strongest. And of course, the strongest is the 3 the 3 deltas. No, nothing is as strong as the 3 deltas. Followed by the Furious Meltemy, and then the Fantex T30, the Noctua A14 IPPC 3000, and then the Silverstone Air Penetrator, this giant, this beast. After that is the EK Furious Vardar Evo. And after that, we've got the Be Quiet 120. Just got to unbury it. And then the Silent Wing Pro 4, right? And then the Cooler Master Mobius OC. And then the Iceberg Thermal Ice Gale Extra. And then the Arctic P12 Max, followed closely by the AAA Wave. Then the B-Gears B-Blaster 80. Followed by the Cooler Master Blade Master. After that would be the B-Gears BPWM 120, which is this one with all the blades. Looks like 11 or 13 or 15. I don't know. It's got a lot of blades. Excuse me. And then the Be Quiet Silent Wings Pro 4 140. And after that is the Scythe Wonder Snail. $120. I'm sure the 140 would also do great. Followed by the B-Gears B-Blaster 140. Now this is again an order of static pressure. After that would be the Fantex PH F120 MP underscore BK02. And then the NZXT F140. The B-Gears B-Ice 140. A very pretty one with the chrome. Then the Scythe Grand Flex. And then finally the Asus ROG Strix XF120A1 and the Akasa Piranha AKFN072. And that is the rundown of them. Now, if you're curious about quietness, let's take a look at what's going to happen for that. And again, keep in mind that I think that some of these companies I think they're using different techniques for measuring decibels, and some of them are not getting it right because I am not seeing a lot of consistency here on this particular quality. And also keep in mind that I'm sorting based on the absolute maximum speed. If it's got a speed switch or the speed dial, I am not looking at the lower settings. I'm only looking at the top one. All right, so the quietest one is supposedly the Asus ROG Strix XF120, and then the Arctic P12 Max, which I don't believe, and then the Akasa Piranha, the let's see, the B-Gears B-Ice 140, the Scythe Wonder Snail, the Cooler Master Blade Master, the NZXT F140, the Fantex PH F120MP_BFK02, the Scythe Grand Flex, the AAA Wave, the B-Gears B-Blaster 140, the Be Quiet Silent Wings Pro 4, I think that's the 140. Yeah, and then right after that, the 120 is a little bit noisier. The B-Gears B PWM 120 Blue, the B-Gears B Blaster 80, the Cooler Master Mobius 120 OC, the Fantex T30, the Silverstone Air Penetrator SST AP 182, the Noctua NFA 14 IPPC 3000, the Furious Vardar EK Furious Vardar Evo 120, the Iceberg Thermal Ice Scale Extra, the Delta AFC 1212D-F00, the Delta AFC 1212DE-SB02, the EK Furious Meltemi 120, and the Delta PFC 1212DE-6A50. So again, if you know of other fans, if they have amazing static pressure, if you can share with us the static pressure, the CFMs, which is the cubic feet per minute, and also the decibels. That would be absolutely fantastic. Put them in the comments below. Please don't forget to like and share and subscribe so that I can get this monetized, so that I can do more things with this channel, like paying back all the money I've spent on all the things that I've got for this channel. So thanks for watching, and I hope you have a fantastic day.